Raised Rowdy.
All right, everybody, welcome to Raised Rowdy Podcast. My name's Kurt Ozan.
I'm Nicky T.
We have Kip Moore here today.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
Good to be here, buddy.
Absolutely.
Good to be here.
We appreciate it. So we're here, of course, to talk about the album. 23 tracks.
Yeah, it's a lot, I know.
It's cool, though.
It wasn't supposed to be 23.
Why don't we move the mic just a smidge closer to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can sit back.
Bam, there you go. How about that?
Yeah, that's great.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, sick. Well, I mean, I've been a longtime fan, too. I've got to see you, I'm not sure who you were opening for, but at a shed in Pittsburgh, Burgettstown, Pennsylvania, on the back of your first album.
Okay.
Maybe first of 3.
Okay.
And then I've had a bunch of my friends and I'd tag along chasing you all around shows. One of my favorites was like a Muscadine Bloodline opening for you out in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
At a little, I guess like a theater show.
Yeah.
Or something close
we
to
did
it.
I've only done one acoustic tour.
Yeah.
And I brought those guys out. I love those guys, and we had a good time together.
It was great.
Yeah.
But man, this album is, in my opinion, like a testament to you as a person. I think maybe even more than some of the previous albums. Like I feel like I got to know you a little bit through this music.
It was a little more, not a little more, a lot more. I feel like I have historically created characters. You know, it's all been personal music for me, but it's like almost like I was creating these characters and writing from a nostalgic sense, where this one was about me, which is a different thing. Like there's been elements of songs, Guitar Man on Slow Heart, that was very much about me, but this record as a whole is like I was just writing about myself.
Yeah.
Especially side A and B, the first real side that was supposed to be what the record was. It was supposed to end with Southern Sun, and then I had 4 months in between because there was already a set date for February 28th, and I wasn't going to stop writing. So it was like I had 4 months when it was done, and then I just kept going, and then it just all kind of started changing with Love and War and Alley Cat and these songs that I was just like, you know, is it cool if I just kind of make a hodgepodge mix of the second side of the record just to give these fans a bunch of songs?
Yeah.
Who's going to tell you no?
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Hey, Courtney. Yeah.
I think it's cool too because, and you've talked about this and it's in like press and stuff about how it is kind of like two sides of the record.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
It's the record, which is almost like a concept record about the solidarity
for sure.
of you as a person and kind of like, you know, explaining a little bit of what people have talked about for years of like you going away for months at a time and just escaping the grind of, you know, social media and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it kind of almost seems like, I don't know if it's a reawakening is the right word, but like a kind of blossoming in the second part of the album as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a very accurate depiction. Yeah, like the first side was a very sonic purpose. You know, we use a lot of the same guitar tones over and over in drum sounds, and it was we wanted to make a very cohesive sound with that. And then the second side was like we tried so many different things. Like, you know, when you cut vocals, you go in a booth and you do the whole thing. And even like with Alley Cat, we were at Oscar Charles' house with my band, and I was just kind of scatting on an SM7 in the room with the drum kit, all the bleed, and the amps were in there, and we were just kind of like rehearsing, and I was kind of making up lyrics as I went. And I just told Oscar, I said, man, let's just try something. Just hit record. Let's all just get this from the top down. He's like, well, there's going to be all the bleed in the drum. I said, I know, but let's just see what happens. And that was the take. We did one take, and that was cool. The Alley Cat recording. So
That's badass.
Yeah, Oscar's production's cool. We've had a few other people that have worked with him.
His name's coming up on some of our guests, which is cool.
I love Oscar. Man,
Yeah.
he loves music, man. He just loves sitting at that desk. He's always got his head down real low. And I had a blast doing that one in Wildfire. And Take What You Can Get was the same kind of thing. It was just all of us kind of in the room. It was just one take, and that was what it was.
Crazy.
Man, I love music too, but I can't do the sitting at the computer thing for too long. Like, I remember thinking one year, it was like maybe like 2019 or something. I'm like, my New Year's resolution is I'm going to get into like doing the track guy thing and get into like writing rooms a lot more and just do that. And like I sat down at like Logic and I was like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
My brain, like I can focus on
Yeah.
something and do it, but it's like digital audio workstations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I do it for like sessions and stuff. I fly steel
Yeah.
tracks and stuff like that, but really getting in there, I'm just like,
Well, it's a whole nother craft where you spent
Oh, it's another instrument.
spent your life working on your instrument. Where I spent my time, I think about where like Dave Nasty, my guitar player, you know, he just nerded out playing guitar for 10 hours a day. Where I would sit in front of a piece of paper just for hours.
yeah,
What is it I got to say right here? And just drinking coffee, taking a walk, and not playing my instrument as much. But it was all about lyrics. And then later on, I started really practicing my craft as a player and marrying those two. And but the whole Pro Tools world is a whole nother bag. You get around a guy like David Garcia that moves as fast as he does. It's so fast.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, I don't feel like getting into this late because I'm never going to catch this.
that's, I mean, dude, totally 100%. And it's kind of, I'm at that point in my life now where it's like, I look at something I want to learn to do, and then I'm like counting my years left. And I'm like recently, like I took a vocal lesson. I just like taking lessons on stuff. And I'm like, maybe I'll like get into singing.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of like, I've got so much work to do because I got to learn fiddle too. And it's like,
You're on a lot of stuff, man.
it's,
And you're kind of in an important band on top of that. So,
yes, thankfully. And,
Yeah.
but I look at like Pro Tool stuff. I'm like, I know guys I know folks that are good at that. I'll just call them.
Yeah.
So, and there's also like stuff. It's like, even like around the house, like I own a house. So it's like, do I need to learn this electrical? I'm like, for safety reasons, I probably better not. You know?
Yeah, just call
I'm
someone.
trying to work on. I'm trying to learn to work on old trucks. You know, and I've got an old 89. I wanted to get a Ford just like my dad had, and I got an 89 F-150, and you know, she's beautiful, but man, she's a lot of work, and it's like I got a guy that I'm trying to teach me how to work.
Ones are,
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to, but it's like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna go take this to this buddy of mine because it's gonna take a long time if I sit around here and, you know. So I get that 100%.
I remember my dad talking about fixing vehicles because he always did when he was young. That was kind of what he and his brother like bonded over, was fixing old cars and Model A's and everything. And he said, man, the cars today just aren't the same. You know, he's like, we could pull a motor out of a car and do everything that we wanted to it in 2 hours.
Yep.
You know, he's like, now everything's a microchip in a computer. And he's like, for good or for bad, he's like, it's nice when it tells me that I'm going outside of my lane, you know?
Yep.
But he's like, you just can't do anything yourself. You have to have the right tools and you have to have the specifics to it.
Well, I wanted to get me an old truck with a carburetor.
Yeah.
In case they try to cut the grid off on us.
Yeah, when that EMP hits, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be cruising around, taking everybody for a ride, man.
Yep.
Yeah, no
It's
doubt.
crazy. But I mean, some ways, you know, that relates to music. You know, it's guitars, it's bass, it's
Yeah.
not Pro Tools as much.
We're still like 100% live
Yeah.
on stage. Like, I mean, it's we're still using amps on
great.
stage. There's no frackles. There's no any of that. So there's all that air being pushed, and you feel it out front. When you go out front, you're like, oh man, this is some serious air getting pushed here, and there's just a different power.
Yeah.
There's a different width in the sound too. If you go out front and you're hearing something that's all computerized and on frackles, it still can be as loud, but it lacks that body that amps and only amps can give you.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preach
So,
it.
yeah, I mean, I would say that even 25 to 40% of our show is free timed. There's so many audibles happening, just kind of reading what the crowd's doing, and I might have a tentative set and just be like, well, this section's not going to work tonight. I can just tell. You know when you can try certain things just from doing it enough times. So that's the beauty of, you know, I can just tell those guys, hold the 1, and we're going to switch it up on the downbeat of the 4 on the this, and we're going to, you know, we know how to read each other really well, and just from doing it so many times together. But I love not being strapped. And where a show, I look at it like when everything is on a computer, everything's time coded. your show, it might always be really good and it's right here, your ceiling's right here. But when you're not strapped to something, there is that case of some nights, like an athlete, you just don't have it. Some nights you just, have I ever even played the guitar before? Like, what's happening right now? You know?
Yeah, I'm not the only one that feels that.
But there's certain nights that become euphoric and magical where you can bust through that. There is no ceiling. There is no bounds to where you can. We were playing Come and Get It one night, and we could just feel the frenzy in the room of this venue we were doing. And it was an arena that just felt like a club. And everyone was so in sync and on fire. And normally we've got a little jam session that happens for about 90 seconds. And that night we took it for 5 minutes, where it was just, you could feel it just simmering. And then it was like, where I usually don't do this in this section, it was just, it keeps ramping. But then we brought it all the way back down and then let it release again. And it was just, you could feel the frenzy in the crowd. And we all wanted to be in a band when we got here, and we wanted to be in a band that there was no restrictions, and where somebody's playing a new riff that you've never heard them play, and you're just like, what was that? I mean, we had a night where there was some little game that one of the guys on the bus was playing, and there's like a theme song to the game. It's like, I want you to somehow incorporate a piece of that riff into the song tonight, you know? And then we just start tripping out laughing, you know? Yeah.
That's awesome. Because we have this, like, it's kind of like a band lick where we go like, bow, and like people, we throw it in like as many songs as we can, like throughout the night.
That's great. I mean, that's what it's about.
It is.
Yeah.
And for me, what you're talking about is the difference between being a singer and being an entertainer, right? Like, if you're taking the crowd on a journey and every show is different, then them seeing your show 100 times makes it better every time.
And I think that's why so many people follow our show. They'll follow the whole tour because they know that, there might be a lot of elements that are the same, but you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
It's not going to be this. It's never the same every single night.
Yep.
Who's doing that in this genre, would you say?
Who else he means?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say us. I don't know.
There's not a lot. I think the brothers.
I would say church, the brothers.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Luke show in so long
Since we were in Europe, probably.
Yeah. But I mean, I've said it before. You know, when I watched y'all that time, it's always. I mean, he sings his face off, but it's always awesome to see. And it's weird that this is like something that's so celebrated now, but you can tell right away when a band's playing, and when they're hiding behind a million tracks. So it's just always, I know you noticed this too. And we're not talking about 70 years ago. Even when I first started touring, I feel like musicians, we would all come kind of hang side stage and you watch each other. Well, there was also sound on stage. It wasn't just cymbal splashes. It was like you had monitors and you had amps and you could hear stuff. So you were inspired watching side stage. And I don't know if it's because it's all computerized now that there's no sound while people don't stand there, but I think it's also just of, it's hard to be inspired unless you're watching a living and breathing live band.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you look now and no one's watching each other anymore. It's just kind of everybody goes back. It's an insular world. You go back to your bus and there's not that camaraderie even of 10 years ago where y'all kind of hung out, you jammed and you hung out backstage. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's because it's become such a Pro Tools world that even as a player, that you just got to go in and play a couple parts, you cut and paste, you do all these things where I feel like you had to almost be a little better at your instrument, say the 60s, 70s, 80s, because you had to record that thing live in the studio down. It wasn't all this cutting and pasting.
Yep.
So there was more of just musicians hanging out with each other and jamming and riffing. And now it's more about we got to get content and we got to do all these things. And it's not just a band of gypsies in a circus together, which that was why I wanted to go on the road. You see Running Down a Dream documentary and you're like, how do I be a part of that there?
Yep. And that's, in my opinion, that's the true art of it. right? Like that's the thing. Of course, the songs, but the stage shows as much art as the songs are.
100%. 100%.
And you do lose some of that. And it's funny too. Like I get to be at a lot of festivals for what we do with Raised Rowdy. So we got to see Ben Chapman last year play with no in-ears, just monitors on stage, no click track, just on the main stage of a show. And people, I'm like, you guys are not understanding what you're seeing here. You
I
know?
try to talk my sound guy into that all the time.
Yeah.
We go to monitors, man.
Yeah.
The bigger stages, that's hard.
Yeah.
I'm even trying to talk him into getting the amps right behind me and just angle them up. I've got them on a rack behind the drums, facing, backwards. But he says, he might give me that this year. So we'll see.
I was watching this clip of Queen playing like a stadium, and Freddie Mercury's like the, present company not included, one of the best front men of all time.
He's the guy.
He's the goat.
He's the guy.
And I'm watching this guy run around stage, and they just got wedges, and like in a stadium with that slap back, I'm like, how is he doing this? And he's sings like an angel. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that band is a whole 3 guys.
I'm at 4, right?
Well, it's like, Freddie had times just singing.
Yeah.
So then you just got Brian May, drums and bass. That's it. Making that much sound.
Yeah.
But there's space.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not just this thing where you're just hearing sound, it's not just what's actually happening right now. You hear everything so specifically.
Yeah. I mean, we have 7 guys in Luke's band, which is a lot.
6 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not running tracks either. So we need more guys.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes we'll have, I think like on a couple songs we have 4 guitars.
I'm just waiting for Luke to fire you so I can get you.
Dude, I'll call you if that happens.
You're my first.
Yeah, I appreciate
please,
that,
I want to be the first call when Luke.
Dude, that's a huge honor, man. I appreciate that.
I've always raved about you.
Thanks,
I mean,
man.
from back in the day, just from the hang, I was just like, I always enjoyed you. And then, to be the player you are, it's you'd fit right on. Luke, I'm not trying to poach. I just like your guy, man.
That's all right. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of band guys, was reading down the track listing, and you brought the band in, your live band, to play on the record too, which I think is rad.
I've been doing that for the last 3 records, but we did a little more this one, and I write a lot with those guys. I've been really pushing them to. We created a lot of these songs in Soundcheck, and I go write the lyric, or me and Wiggs. Wiggs has become a really good lyricist, Manny, and I'm just always trying to. Dave Nassie sent me him and Zach sent me the riff to High Hopes, and Hank's already sent me. I'm already in the middle of making another one right now, and he's sent me 3 different riffs while I was in Maui, and I've already written all the lyrics to him, and we're gonna start going in for that late summer. But
he's a monster player.
He's a
monster.
monster.
I just gotta give him some props. He's great.
He is and there's him and Dave are so different. Dave is, they're both so good. Dave is a technician.
Yeah.
Man, he's just going to learn it to the T, and he is so freaking good. And Hank's just got this free-flowing swagger that you never know what he's going to do, and he'll change it up all the time, but it always fits. He always finds himself musically in the right spot.
Maybe he comes from more of like a jazz background or something, so it's more improvisatory.
Have you seen his thing at the Underdog on Tuesday nights? He does it
No,
once a month.
I haven't.
I'm
But I've seen him
calling
play
you
before.
next time.
Okay.
Yeah, he does a thing with another group of musicians, and it's his songs, and man, they rip. But I've been, I just like I said, I always wanted to be in a band, and I love writing with the songwriters that I write with, and I wrote so much by myself for this record. But there's nothing like being in Soundcheck. Every single day in Soundcheck, we're trying to write something. Every single day, we spend the first 20, 30 minutes. All right, who's got a riff? And then we see if anything starts to happen. And then usually I'll sit in my bunk with it at night, and I'll see how it's feeling to me. And then the next day I'll come in with a lyric to get it going. But every day we're trying something. That's how Flowers in December got started with Soundcheck. It was Wiggs and Manny. I was doing that opening acoustic riff, and Wiggs and Manny joined in right away. And it was the 3 of us. And then I was leaving for Costa Rica, I think, 2 days later, and then wrote that lyric with Wiggs in Costa Rica, back and forth on the phone. And that's the stuff I love.
Do you record the sound checks and like?
Oh yeah, I've got them. I got so many on my phone. When we get out of here, I'll just I'll even at some point, Cord, if you could grab me my phone, and I'll just kind of give you like a
I'd love
just a
that.
taste of.
Is this like recorded from the board or?
Yeah, just the board.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's the board. A lot of times it's just Dusty holding up his
That one's mine.
It's right outside. It's in my truck. My keys are on my jacket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's
Thanks,
on the
Gordy.
middle console. But a lot of times it's just Dusty holding his phone up from the front of the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's from the soundboard.
Yeah.
But
So how long are sound checks for you guys? Because sometimes we get up and we'll play, whatever songs
Yeah.
we fucked up last night or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
when you're live, that happens.
Yeah. And especially when I play fiddle, but also we'll jam a couple things and then maybe play a couple covers that we kind of know a little bit, and then we're done.
I would say that sound check is normally anywhere from an hour to 2 hours.
Okay, so that's a little
Every
on the
day.
longer side, but it's not like insanely long.
And I'm always there, so
Yeah.
it's not like it's not a track vocal of the lead singer while he's
Right.
backstage
Yeah,
eating
yeah.
lunch. So I go out there, and normally we'll kind of we'll start with a couple songs to give Dusty a mix that we're actually going to run in the show, and then we always start kind of riffing on different things, and it's kind of an ever-changing thing. I'm going to give you just
Please do.
a thing that we did
Yes.
here recently that I've been writing lyrics on the way out here.
Okay.
So this is what we were doing the other day, and I can't.
Don't
believe
steal this, people, if you're listening.
Yeah, yeah. I probably shouldn't do this, but I just finished the lyric, I think, and we're going to try to record this very, very soon. Man, where is this piece?
Deep within the phone.
No, I got.
You know
it.
what's funny? It's like you originally were putting out this 12-song album, but I feel like whenever you cut an album is when you write your best stuff, like afterwards.
Everybody says that.
Yeah. So it kind of makes sense how it ended up being like a longer project. And now you're still going. We have a lot of different artists in here, and not many of them, actually probably none of them write that way. Just
No.
jamming and sound check. That's wildly unique.
Heart's Desire was done that way. Sweet Virginia was done that way. Flowers in December was done that way. I mean, there's been a lot that have happened like that. And I've got a thing of about 8 for this new project that I'm working on right now that have all come from Soundcheck.
So cool. And a great use of time, honestly. You
Yeah,
know?
and so all the guys will be on all this whole next, like they'll be all over it, where, Dave's got 2 on this record, Hank's got 1, Manny and Wig's got a couple, but this next record will be just all of us,
So
which would be pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe you can, incorporate some of that weird recording shit where y'all playing it live or like whatever. You never know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like working with Jaron? Because I see y'all cutting up. I'm like, I just want to be there with those guys and just be a fly on the wall because it looks so fucking funny.
Man,
You guys are like making fun of each other all the time, dude.
we really rip on each other a lot, but there is a lot of love. There's a lot of respect. He's become like one of my favorite people on the planet. We got really close. We've been writing together for a long time, but when his dad passed during COVID, and my dad passed in 2011, I was really close with him. Jaron was in a bad place, and we spent a lot of nights, There was also just the element, and we were all like, what is our job going to be? Like, we've spent all this time working towards this, and all of our eggs are in one basket. And like, we got a job. If we go for a job, what's our experience of doing
Surf
and-
instructor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the last 20 years, this is all we've done. So there was that element too, and it's juggling a family, and he was just not good, and we would spend hours on the phone talking, and getting that side of him, that heavy, deep side, was something that I had yet to really see. So I felt like we became brothers during that time, but making a record, he's so insanely talented when you're around him. I mean, his mind is just, and I feel like I've always seen things from a producer's lens, and I'm always dissecting parts. I love listening to Genesis records and figuring out how they did all that. Pet sounds. I mean, like laying back, and Queen records. Production is just something that even when I'm writing these songs, I'm singing all the parts most of the time in my phone. Okay, well, you're going to do this here. You're going to do the counter melody here. You're actually going to play eights here, and you're going to keep the groove straight here because it's going to be a little different than the bass, and we can't have too much bounciness here, and then we're going to get more legato here. So I'm always thinking from those angles. But Jaron is, man, he is something special to be around in that setting. Yeah, I had such a ball doing this with him, but there is a lot of laughter. There's a most stuff I can't, even really say in here that goes on, but it's there's a lot of ribbing for sure.
Yeah. That's the band I chase the most.
Yeah.
The most shows I've ever seen from a band's the Cadillac 3.
Yeah, he's so great. It was one song we were just struggling, man, and I was just like, why does it feel so soft right now? It just, the song ain't supposed to be. And he said, damn it, so and so, give it some dick. What's going on in there? And I mean, that was all. And I mean, the whole place just broke up laughing. And then the whole dynamic of the song shifted from that one little funny comment. It was like, oh, okay, that's it right there. Now we're cooking.
Wow. So cool.
He's the epitome of a rock star.
He
think.
is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't tell him that though. He's.
I probably already have. But.
I always tell him.
He knows.
I love to give him a hard time. Like nobody loves Jaron more than Jaron. But but yeah, he is a hoot, man. He is really. We hold up at I found a little piece of land in on the East Coast in the Carolinas. I've always wanted to live on the marsh, and I really struggle being here in Nashville when I got off the road. I get really dark, and I love so many things about this town, and I love what it's blessed me with, and but the town has changed so much, and not only from just when you go in writing rooms, and that's all shifted so much. The vanity, the heartbeat of the town has shifted so much, and then it's so much concrete and traffic and everything centered around nightlife, and I feel like my spirit kind of suffers when I'm here a little bit. So when I found this piece of land randomly, I've always wanted to live on the marsh, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna build me a little place right here, and I'm gonna hole up here and write records and do this whole thing in redfish and really get away from people and all the thing. And so when I went to make this record, Jaron and Casey Bethel would just hole up with me at the house for days. And man, it was such a rad experience there was none of this, hey man, I got a thing at 2, so I'm gonna kick it, and you keep working on this. And when I was coming up into town, man, when we get there at 9 and we weren't leaving till 5, I mean, every day. And a lot of times it would just carry till 7, 8 o'clock until we got it done. But being in it all day, late into the night, waking up with coffee, and you're right back with those same people. Man, I was thinking when I went to bed, and then you start kind of going through all that, and it was just such a different way to do it that I don't think I'll ever not do it that way. Because I got the whole band out after I finished the record, and we started working on this new project, and they all came out to the house, and we got 5 that I felt so good about, but it was just us being holed up every day and playing late into the night at the house. And it was like, this is why we got into music. It was just an all day affair where you felt like, Skinner'd holed up in the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like. It was hot. It was blazing hot outside. We're in the marsh, and it was walking outside and drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and going back in and playing your instrument.
So
yeah.
Cool, man. I want to do that. That's awesome.
And it was just, we would go upstairs, and I got this, vinyl player from the 70s, and I've got a crazy collection. And it was when we got jammed up, we're all together, and we go mix cocktails, and it's 3 o'clock in the daytime, and we're listening to old Allman Brothers records, and then we're listening to, we're listening to Thin Lizzy, and then we're listening to the Eagles, and we're listening to all these different records and Creedence, and listening for sounds and things that inspire us. And it was like, this is what I always dreamed of, and I'm doing it this late in my career.
But you're doing it.
Yeah.
Which is the most important part.
It's like Kip version 2, or probably more than that. But it's kind of like a rebirth in a way,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't think that, I don't know if I've ever been this inspired.
It seems
this
like
late in my career. I'm just like, in what I'm doing, you know, I know we're talking about the record that's out now that I'm so stoked on, but it's even carried over, and what I know's in the bag behind this. I just can't wait. I'm just foaming to go get in the studio and start cutting this stuff.
That's great.
You seem really happy too.
Yeah, I feel like that. You know, there's a lot of things you wrestle with, and you get a little chip on your shoulder about certain things, and it's you can't help but, if you're a competitor, it's hard to not be a competitor, and I don't think that'll ever go away in me, but it's kind of like somebody asked me last night when I was doing this private thing at the Opry after that you had to win your way into, and I was playing, and one of the guys asked me, they said, you know, Kip, you know, we've been following you for years, and we feel like you've been doing this really, really cool thing that's on the outside fringe that might not get a lot of commercial love, and, you know, was kind of starting to knock stuff that's happening now, and why do you think you don't get your due, and this and that. And I said, you know, I am getting my due. You guys are all in here hanging out with me right now, and we're selling out shows, and you guys love coming, and I got y'all as fans. So that's like, I'm in the midst of a crazy blessing right in front of me. So I think that you always got that, you know, that competition spirit in you, but I've had more fun playing music and recording music in the last 2 years than I ever have in my whole career. And I'm just so present. I used to not be present, I feel like, a lot of my career, even during shows when people are like, man, y'all are on fire. And my mind was in a whole nother place for a whole show. I'm thinking about how to keep the circus moving. Mm-hmm. And there is a certain pressure, not a certain pressure. There's just a fucking gigantic weight on your shoulder when you know you're responsible for all the music, to write it, to keep the ship moving. Mm-hmm. You're responsible for people's livelihoods and families. And there's something that comes with that it's inorganic as far as music goes. And I felt myself getting tied up in those things. Okay, well, how do I write a hit? And how do you do this? And, well, I don't want to write what's happening here, and, you know, yada, yada. And so I just let go of all that. You still feel it, but I really let go of that. And the guys have helped me with that. You know, they see that I carry it. And it's like, we signed up for this too. We know what comes with this, man. Like, just enjoy what's happening. And, you know, organically working ourselves into an arena act overseas. It's crazy. It's not like we're getting airplay in these places. It's like just people seeing the live show, and then we come back and it's just madness. South Africa was a whole different bag from a radio programmer, but, you know, Australia, you know, we were, you know, doing full-fledged selling out arenas over there, and it's like we started in clubs, and just seeing what it's growing into in Europe and England, and just the band is so on fire, and we get along so good. We have so much fun on the road. We're always jamming after shows in the dressing room. We still party and have a good time, and we're so connected. And I'm so present during shows, unlike I ever have been in the last 10 years.
That's amazing,
bro. This makes me so happy. I love it.
Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, you started it as a band of brothers, and you started it to do the thing that has lived in your soul. Mm-hmm. I mean, just hearing you talk about this, you can tell how passionate you are about what you're doing right now, which is amazing. Yeah,
and I'm surrounded by guys that love music. It's not like it's just about, hey, let's go be famous, you know, and it's not like you know, there's nobody in our camp that's walking around, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, everybody's walking around TikTok, and it's like they're just there to play music. And it's truly like, for the Will, and, you know, Will joined the band back in 21, keys player, and just a monster player, singer, musician. and Hank, joined a couple of years ago, and they've injected so much life into this band. They love, like I said, Hank's got a side gig, and we all, you know how this is. If so many bands and the artists in town, like if you got a side gig, it's like we're there every Tuesday night, the whole band watching Hank do a side gig, and we're drinking and hollering out, and it's just so much fun, and yeah, so we all feel it. We all feel like this deep, 12 years into this thing from getting signed at Universal, it's percolating in a different way right now, where we feel like it's right there where it feels like the top's about to bust off. We feel like we're right there on the edge of it, where it's, a song or two away from, going into a different stratosphere. And we all feel that way. And it might not, but it feels that way right now.
I love that.
Yeah, that's so inspiring, man. You make me want to get in the garage right now and just fucking jam.
Yeah.
The shed at your house, I guess.
Well, then you're just gonna have to do that, man.
Yeah.
Just come. I'm not bullshitting. Like you should just come out and I'll get you out to the house the next time we hole up, man.
Dude,
and just
please
bring some ideas and let's just hang. And like, I know what kind of player you are, and
I'll bring some vinyls too and some cocktails.
Yeah, I got that covered, man. I got a really good little section of that.
It's like being in the garage again, except it's on a marsh.
There you go.
It's a little nicer.
Yep.
We don't have to steal Dad's beer anymore.
That's very true. Very true.
That's amazing.
Tell us a little bit about how this South Africa thing came about.
Man, this thing happened from one guy. I got to give all of it to him. A lot of the other stuff was just like the European audience, Australia, New Zealand was all just kind of word of mouth. It just kept trickling from the shows. But a guy named Wimpy that runs Bach Radio. This is a really amazing story. I would say early 2022, I got a call from my manager. Sean McSpadden calls me and says, because you can see everything in real time now with streaming. Mm-hmm. He said, something crazy's happening in South Africa. Like this ain't like just a little bump. Like there's something has happened. We don't know what. Nobody knew what. But I was streaming through the roof. And so I was like, well, that's cool. That's rad. And we've been seeing little bumps in places like Poland and these different places. Mm-hmm. But this was a different thing. This was like I was having hit records or something. I was like, I don't know. And I didn't think much. I just kind of was like, oh, that's cool. Let me get back to drink my coffee. And, late 2022 rolls around. He's like, man, there's something really happening. Like, we can't figure it out. Nobody still knew. 2023, the end of the year rolls around. And he calls me again. He said, well, I just got a call. We still didn't know why, but I just got a call from this guy, Wimpy, that's also a promoter. We didn't even know at the time he was the guy that ran the station. And he wants to book us in a couple clubs in South Africa. But I'm fried by this time. This is like November, late November. And he wants us to come out there in like January. And I said, man, I go surfing in the wintertime, and I need that time. We've already done 90 shows, and I'm cooked. Mm-hmm. And I ain't flying to South Africa to potentially go get kidnapped and go play 2 clubs, you know?
Yeah.
To
go lose money.
And that was kind of my thought. And I was, I didn't know much, and that was a naive thing on my end. I was just like, you hear the stories, and so I said, no, I'm not going. 2 clubs, I'm gonna, I've already done that whole thing where you lose, like, people don't understand, like, when you're building it, even when you see it happening, we could see that after C2C, we were the opening band. We were the very first band of like 5 on that thing. That whole first C2C that we were on in 2015, 14. And we noticed that we sold the most CDs of the entire festival. So we knew something had happened. We knew that a connection was made. So I knew that I had to go back right away. But even our first tour was sold out 1,000-seat clubs. And, man, I lost $30,000 to go play for them. Me. That's all on me.
Yep. And
you have to, like, if you're going to do that, invest, because it's so much to fly everybody, to rent the gear, rent the rooms. You're renting all the PAs. There's none of this house PAs. And it's like, so anyways, I knew that in that, I was like, man, I'm just not ready to fork over all this and go lose and go play a couple clubs and maybe 10 people show up. I don't even know if I believe this is going on right now. So January 3rd rolls around, and I'm sitting in my little 1-bedroom place that I rent in Hawaii, and I get a call, and manager says, they want to put you in the arena in Cape Town. This promoter's called again, and they want to book you in the arena and then play a club in Pretoria, possibly the arena in Pretoria, which is outside Johannesburg. I said, what?
It's like a
He
prank or
said,
something.
yeah, and he said, this promoter swears you're going to feel the room. He said, the demand's through the roof. I said, man, this sounds almost like he's in on the thing, man. I'm going to get taken when I get there, you know? So I said, when does he want to do this? And you know how this works, Kurt. He said he wants to do it in March. I said, this is January, and you want to go play 2 arenas in a country we've never been to. That's a 9-month prep. You know, you put the sale on 9 months before you go.
Just the paperwork alone.
You know, and he said, I'm telling you, this guy is 100% in. I said, here's what we're going to do then. I said, when does he want to go on sale with this thing? This is on a Tuesday. He said, Friday.
Jesus.
I said, so this guy wants to announce a tour with no prep on Friday. And I said, this is a joke. I said, I'm going to go surfing on Friday morning. Come Monday, when we've sold 10 tickets, we'll just cancel the show. We'll refund those 10 people. So Friday rolls around, you know, I'm behind in time, and I wake up at 6 to do my normal thing. I'm getting up with the sun, and I surf for probably 4 or 5 hours that morning. And I get back to my phone, and now it's probably 3 or 4 o'clock Nashville time. And I've got 30 missed calls. Just my phone's been blown up. So I'm like, man, what is going on? So I call Gaines. Says, you're not going to believe this. You got the fastest sellout in Cape Town history, eclipsing Sting. You sold out in 7 minutes in Cape Town. So I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He said, well, so now they want to move you into the football stadium in Johannesburg, Pretoria. Pretoria. And I said, a football stadium? He said, yeah. So he said they're gonna scale it to 10,000. And then, you know, so they put it on sale, and day 1, the 10,000 was gone. Day 2, they upped it to 20. Then that was gone day 2. Then they just upped it to 30. And then that was, you know, so we ended up going playing for Full House in Pretoria, and then did the arena. We did 2 nights. They announced the second night in the arena, and we sold that out. So it was like we did 2 nights in the arena in Cape Town. So then I had coffee with him, and I said, you got to tell me how this happened. And he said, well, late 21, I was sitting around, and a friend of mine brought your vinyl over of Wild Ones. And he said, this is like a, you know, this is a rock and pop station here. And he said that he just became obsessed with that record. And I started listening to it for like 2 or 3 weeks. And he said Heart's Desire was his favorite, which I always wanted Heart's Desire to be the single off of that record. I knew it was a hit record. And my whole label loved that record, but they said, you know, we just don't feel like it works in the format and this and that. It was that whole game. And I said, well, all of y'all reacted to this song, a visceral reaction when you first heard it. Every single one of y'all thought that chorus was a hit chorus. It's undeniable. Yeah, it just doesn't quite fit in what's going on. You know, I said, okay. So this guy spins it in primetime hours. He said, the hell with it. And he just threw it on the air, and he says it was just an explosion. And he said that it was like the 80s. His phone lines were blowing up, and everybody's like, who is this? What is this? And so then he spun If I Was Your Lover after that, and it blew up. And then he did The Bull, and it blew up. So it was all these songs that I loved. He was spinning the tracks that I wanted as singles to represent me in the commercial space. And it was just, you know, I think that within a 1.5-year span, there was like 10 songs in the top 10. And it was just, by the time I got there, it was a full-fledged frenzy.
So crazy.
From
It's
one
the most
guy.
Kip Moore thing ever.
Yeah.
From one guy.
Yeah.
So
A
crazy.
believer, man. That's really what it's about, though.
Somebody led the way and believed in something, knew his, you know, now, you know, there's not a lot of, number one, radio programmers that love music, you know, and then you got a guy in Dallas making the decisions for somebody in Kentucky, and they're 2 complete different markets that are playing the same exact playlist. Man, people are different from county line to county line. You'll go play a show in Macon that's going to be completely different than the show in Atlanta. You know, it's like just different people. And this guy didn't have anybody telling him what to do, and he did what he wanted, and he wasn't waiting for metrics. He wasn't waiting for what the data said and what his, you know, the people that wear those little devices, you know, I know you know what that is. You got
With
like
the car thing.
yeah,
and
it's so ridiculous. You know, I was having a conversation with a guy in radio, with a woman in radio that was talking about, we know our listeners, you know, they wear the devices. And I looked at
It's
her.
like Black Mirror.
I looked at her and I said, have you ever met anyone cool that wore a device? Have you ever met anyone that's wearing these devices that actually buys records and goes to shows? It's anytime I'm doing those things at the station, and those are the people that get to come in because they're always winning all the stuff. And then I asked the question, it's a sold out show in that city. And so I'm like, who's coming to the show? And nobody's coming that's in that thing, that's in that radio winning room. And they're like, you got free tickets? And it's so those are the ones calling the shots. And they're not even the ones that are actually supporting the music. It's such a jacked thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love radio. That's why I'm passionate about it. Yep. I discovered all my favorite bands from listening to the radio. Mm-hmm. And so I'm still pulling for, radio to be that. To find artists and be like, it doesn't have to be me. Just find cool stuff and champion it, and don't wait for what the metrics tell you. Like, use your gut, and you can make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like monoculture or whatever. It's like the same station everywhere.
Yeah.
It's tough,
And
man.
in South Africa, they're like, let's just play Kip all the time. And everyone's like, hell yeah.
Well, I mean, if you talk about music, right, it speaks to different people in different ways. And that's the power of an album. And that's the power specifically of a long album.
Yeah.
You have a lot of tracks that can speak to people.
Yeah.
Right? There's something you can find in an album that you can't find in a single, right?
1,000%.
And that's the hardest part about what's happening in music right now is it's a single-driven market. And I get why. Because that way, every song that you spent too much money on that you don't have the money to recoup has a little bit of time to, like, work its magic. But the songs that really hit home oftentimes are the ones that they say don't fit on country radio. Mm-hmm. Like, we actually had a radio show. Kurt was my co-host for a while. And my program director, Mark Anderson, was like, I'm giving you a radio show because you love music and you don't sound like a dude that should be on the radio. Mm-hmm. You just love music. And we would play Luke Combs' radio single, and then we would play whatever the fuck we wanted after it.
Mm-hmm. Dustin the Baggie, Billy Strings.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But, like, that's what we got to do. Now, it was Sunday nights.
Still one of the greatest YouTube videos where he's on the couch and his buddies over there just rolling the fat one, just dancing and singing. Like, man, what a great video.
He's got the short hair.
Yeah.
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 I've seen that.
But there's something to that. Everything that sounds the same sounds the fucking same. You know? And honestly, that's one of the things I've loved about your music for years is, like, it doesn't sound exactly like everything else that's on country radio. Mm-hmm. It is genre bending. Before, like, now there's a lot of genre bending happening in country music. But you were doing that shit with stuff that sounded like a little bit of Springsteen and a lot of rock and roll and a lot of country music and merging that all together. And that's what makes the live show break through, in my opinion.
Well, I grew up a rock and roll baby. I didn't get into country till my early teens, like 15, 16 is kind of when I discovered some country records that I love, but I was all rock and roll. And so I've been kind of blending rock and roll melodies and instrumentation with the craft of a country lyric for years.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I've been doing, with like Crazy More Time and stuff. I'm crafting the lyric like a, that thing where you're really driving home the hook, but I've just always been, drawn to jumping octaves and choruses and really trying to stretch range and things like that, and not always just starting the song with the verses down and the chorus up. Like, I want to come out shouting out of the gate, Mm-hmm.
It's powerful. And I mean, again, you talk about the live experience, but on records, it's just as important. How is that song going to capture someone?
Love and War. That was all I had in my head. I wrote that chorus while I was about 100 feet up on a rock wall climbing, and that chorus hit me, and I was just like, oh, man. And then I wanted to start the verse out with the same intensity. And so I was already working on the production in my head on the way down. And when we went into the studio, it was all about captivating an audience with a piece of music that was just full tilt in that moment. Lipstick was kind of like that for me. So it was almost like recreating a different version of that just grabbed the audience from the start, where we could kick off a show with that.
Yeah. And I think, we get to see people at every level, but a lot of the people that we work with are still trying to figure it out, right? And especially at our events in town, it's writers' rounds, stuff like that. But there's so much value in hearing things like this, where it's like, you got to write a song that captures the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between being a great singer and being someone that can make that crowd their crowd.
Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Tom Petty wasn't like some kind of like incredible vocalist, but man, you believe that son of a bitch, whatever he was saying. And there was a delivery and a cadence. And I look at my favorite singers. I mean, that was all of them. I mean, Stevie Nicks, Seeger, Tom Petty, Springsteen. I mean, they're all good singers, but I can name you better vocalists. But man, did they deliver what they were trying to. Born in the USA. I mean, the minute he shouts that opening line, man, you are in.
Yeah, it's the attitude.
Yeah.
The style. The artistry.
Yes.
And that's the difference between a singer and an artist, is like an artist knows their audience to some point too, where it's like you can capture that thing. You can capture their attention, and then you can take them on a journey.
Yeah. And we also, I've that's something that, Wild Ones really helped catapult that. When I look out into the audience, man, it is an eclectic mix of people. It's all different races. It's every kind of person, creed. I mean, it's your rednecks. It's your sophisticated, people. It is all different types. It's pink and blue hair, and then it's the slick back businessman, and then it's all kinds of people. And I'm never scared of doing something like Love and War on this record that is a full blown rock and roll record, because they already know me for doing elements of that, and I know that it's gonna work. I just know, like, I know them, and I know this thing that we have. And so I don't ever feel bound at all to a genre or I when I'm making a record. And even like with this thing I'm doing now, man, I mean, it feels nothing like the record I just made. And I know they're going to be there when it comes.
Yeah. Well, they're there for you. You built that connection with your fans. That's why they chase your shows. That's why they go to multiples in the same weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like you have a reputation. Sorry to interrupt you, Nick.
No,
I feel like you just have such a reputation for diehard fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I know Kip Moore fans that do not like country music, and they like Kip Moore.
And there's a lot of, I mean, it's a really cool thing, too, when I was talking about the eclectic mix. I mean, it's anywhere from the 16-year-old kid to the 65, 70-year-old rocker couple that was following around Seeger back in the day. They're like, then they found me from their daughter or their son, and now they've seen 50 shows. I mean, it's so many of those stories, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Oh, it just shows you're doing the right stuff, like
Trying.
We are, man. And I think the crowds say it, the albums say it.
Yeah. It's a special thing to look out and see. I'm always trying to get my mother, like, get out. Like, you're still so healthy. Like, get out. Like, come meet me in New York. Let's do. And she has these, she feels like she can't sometimes. Oh, well, I can't. And I'm like, you're the most healthy, person in their 70s that I know. And like, and I see these couples in their 70s just raging at the shows. And it's so freaking, it's so awesome to watch. Their spirit is still on fire. Mm-hmm. And, they're watching us as a band, and we're on fire on stage. And I don't mean like we're just so good. I mean like we're still so connected to what we're doing. And we're not just going through the motions, and Dave's jumping off of drum risers, and it's just, they're in it. And they're so in it.
I love it, man. I need to come see you live. This is really inspiring me. Well, I know you got a tour coming up, right? Starting in April?
We start in Canada for a whole month.
All right, Nick and I'll be there.
Yeah. It's looking like the whole tour is almost sold out. Sault Ste. Marie, y'all need to get on y'all's game. That's the only one that's kind of lagging behind.
Never even heard of that place. Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, Sudbury. Yeah, we got two places lagging a little bit behind, but that's this whole tour is going to be great. And then we come home for like a week, and we go to Europe for a little over a month.
Whereabouts over there?
All 3 shows in Germany, Stockholm, Norway, Switzerland.
Yeah.
And we do Sweden. I think. Yeah, we do Sweden. And then we'll do Belfast, and we'll do London, of course. And man, I can't. There's so
That's
many.
amazing. Isn't it so
we do Manchester? Yeah.
Isn't it so inspiring over there?
Man,
I love touring Europe.
I
love it.
Love it.
It's like some of the guys in the band are like, man, I'm ready to go home and eat regular food, and I'm like, nope,
You're
not
like
me.
you're like me. I could stay out. I mean, I get tired for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm so inspired when I'm out there, and I was just meant for the circus. I think
so. And also, one thing I notice is that if I take care of myself, then my mental energy is good to tour for. I can go forever. If I'm like running or doing something, then like I'm like knocking the hangover off. I'm going outside, running around. Then I'm like, let's play another show. Let's do another date. Let's hit another country. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that helps me a lot.
Yeah. How many shows do we have over there, Court? Do you know? I want to say it's like 15 or something. Yeah. Okay.
1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so bummed. It's like, I looked up and we're giving South Africa a year off and Australia, and it's like, I want to go right back. I'm just ready to go right back and play again.
Australia is great. I bet you were surfing your ass off over there.
You know what? I don't get to, because it's so full tilt the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed about that. I don't get much time to kind of hang. You're trying to catch up on sleep, and the hard part about there is you don't have a tour bus.
Mm-hmm.
So you're playing a Wednesday night. You're getting off stage at 11:30, and then you're going to bed around 2. You're waking up at 7 for lobby call.
Yeah.
You've got maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and then you're doing sound check by noon. The next night in Sydney, and then the next night in Melbourne, the next night in Brisbane, and then you're flying to Perth to play a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and it's just you're upside down the whole time.
Yeah. Perth is wild because when you go on Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever, and you zoom out all the way, you can't see America at all because it's so far away.
It's so far. Did you play that club in there that's like the 4-tier, where it's all like Thunderdome on top of you in Perth?
It was some arena.
Okay.
I forget when we
That's
played
right.
over
You
there.
were Luke Combs. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I played that. We played something like 2,000 seat club that was one of the coolest. When you're in there, when you first walk in, you're like, man, this is the wildest looking place I've ever walked into. This looks, I don't know, man. It looks like Blade from like the 80s. It looks like a movie
Denzel
like Blade
Washington.
or something.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes
Wesley
movie.
Snipes,
Yeah.
sorry.
It looks like a Wesley Snipes movie when you walk in, or like Mad Max. And then the show starts, and you walk out there, and it's filled, and it's truly, it's like 4 tiers, and they're so like on top of you, and it's just these crazy lights, and it's man, it was an experience.
I love a good club show. It doesn't
Man,
get
it
any
was
better
cool.
than that.
It was
I don't think.
really
No,
cool.
I agree. Club shows, like, I mean, I always tell people, it's nice to spend $350 to go to a big concert, but you can go to a bunch of club shows for that and get some hotels and bring your friends with you.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like, I love getting to catch people on the come up because you get to experience those club shows of people. Like, I got to see Luke play with Rob to 20 people on a Tuesday. You know what I mean? And getting to see like Riley Green when he was on the come up, and the Guitar Me that he had back then, and get to see the show before it changes,
Yeah.
Those club shows are amazing, but those theater shows have something special too.
Yeah.
Especially just cool rooms, man. I'm sure that feeds energy to the artists on stage too, like you're talking about.
The rooms are everything. In an arena can feel like a club, but the rooms, when you're walking into a room that is like a brand new, crisp, pristine, perfectly curated room, it does something to the energy where people get insular and they feel like they can't let go. When you walk into a room that looks like it's got 100 years of spit and whatever on the floor, and
Like
there's
a Canes or
and there's graffiti on the walls, and it does something psychologically to people that they feel like their inhibitions are down and they can let loose, and it creates a different energy. There's a place called the Soma in San Diego that we've done, and I just remember walking in that room, and it's just one gigantic concrete slab of floor that's perfectly angled going upwards, where everybody's gonna have a view. It's all standing, and there was so much graffiti. We were the first quote unquote country band to ever play this venue, and man, was that place chaos inside. But I feel like it's because people walk in, they're like, oh, this room doesn't care if I let loose, and there's something to that psychologically.
Yeah.
That's why I picked the Brixton this year in London. I mean, I was told like no country acts go here. It was a legendary rock and roll room with Pearl Jam, Nirvana, you name it. They've got Soundgarden. I mean, they've all played there, Van Halen, and you know. And the other room was a great room, but it was super, super pristine and just beautiful, and crystal balls hanging from the ceiling. And I just said, man, I want to go play the Brixton. You know, the agent's like, I just don't think that's a good idea. It's in a rough part of town and this and that. And perfect. We're going to play the Brixton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's going to be wild inside.
Most Kip thing ever again.
Yeah.
No, and that's really what it's about, man. It's this thing is an outward expression of you. Your music is an outward expression of you. And so the rooms you're playing should be the rooms that you want to play.
Yeah. I want people to leave. It's also one of those things for me. It's like even when I travel, I still travel with a wanderlust spirit that I try to showcase a little bit. Like I have the means now. If I wanted to go prop up at the Four Seasons for 5 months, I could. And it's to each its own. There's nothing wrong with those places. They're beautiful. They're incredible. You want to get pampered. I get it. But there's nothing interesting for me about those places. And I don't care about sitting around some bar talking about real estate. It does nothing for me. Things interest me so little. I truly don't care about things. I care about human connection and experiences. And so for me, I'm always... You said it. It's like I want the places I pick to be an extension, and it's like I thrive in places that feel dirty and unbound, and I always feel like I'm on the outside fringe of society, and I still feel like an alley cat moving through this world, and so I want those are the places I want to be in. Mm-hmm. Those are the characters I want to be around, and yeah, so, I mean, I feel different in those rooms, and I know the fans do, and all those things matter to me. And sometimes you can't get the ones you want. They're booked up or whatever, and you got to take what you can get. But I was very adamant on a lot of those picks of just being like, no, we're playing this room. Like, this is where we're going. I know nobody goes here besides rock and roll bands, but that's why we're going, because this is a rock and roll show, so this is what they're going to get.
I love that.
Yeah, it's sick, man. And I know you also do a lot of touring, like just by yourself, traveling, I guess they call it when you're not playing gigs. But it seems like you're always trying to find that unique experience, if it's like going by yourself or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, last year I did El Salvador, made my way down to Costa Rica. I'll usually get like a dirt bike or something, and it's got a surf rack on the side of it. But when you're truly in it and you're immersed in it, I even think about just coming back from Hawaii. I'm so in the thick with the real locals that live there. There's this thing that happens, and it happens in Costa Rica. It happens in these other places where you make these human connections that there's nothing disingenuous about it. Nothing. I'm sitting with a cup of coffee at 6:30 in the morning and just looking for what the ocean's doing. Okay, there's nothing happening right now, but I can see a little bump. I can see a little pulse happening. And you're just kind of waiting, and then somebody walks up, and it's another person that's kind of cut from that same cloth. And they're these people that aren't caught up in all this stuff we're caught up in nowadays. And there's no vanity, and there's no things, and there's all these social classes mix, and there's no what do you do for work, and there's none of that stuff. And you find yourself 2 hours later, there still haven't been any surf, and you've been talking, actually talking for 2 hours. And then the next thing you know, it's, grabbing lunch. You just met this person 2 hours ago. You're grabbing lunch. By the time I'm leaving, I've got 2 surfboards stashed at their house. And that same year, they're flying out to see a show. I've made so many people that I actually call friends now, not buddies. I've been going to the same gym in Nashville for a long time. I bet in 5 years I've made one friend in there that I would actually consider a friend. You go in there and it's all so insular. Mm-hmm. It's all so insular, and everybody's checked out on they got their earbuds in, head down. You say hello to people, and it's just a very either don't acknowledge it or, and you go to these places, and I work out in all these gyms. Most of them are outdoor gyms, and you're walking in barefoot and this and that. And there's such an energy. There's such a different pulse. And I've made so many close friends in these places that I travel, way more than I've made here in all my years of being here. And I'm there for a month, and I come back with people that I truly consider a friend. I don't know what that is other than people are actually connected to their life, and they're connected to life. And it's not just, you're in a bar and everybody's just kind of, and looking around you and past you and what's the next best thing in here. And it's a very just brief convo. I got to go be here. And you don't see people on their phones and checked out. It's a whole different. I found myself in a house with a guy that I'd surfed with in Mexico. Could barely speak English, and the next thing you know, I'm around a dinner table of 7 or 8 family members, and I'm in the house in this tiny little thing, and no one can speak English, and it's just laughter. Me and this guy, I'm just like, man, I love this guy. By the time I leave, I'm like, he's like a brother to me, and then I'm leaving a surfboard at his house, and then it'll be there when I get back, and that's the kind of stuff that fires me up. I think, I think that's why I struggle when I come back here. I really do. There's something that's missing from my life when I come back here, and it's a hard thing to put my finger on because these things happen so naturally when I'm gone, and then it's just it just seems that you look up and you're like, wow, I've been here for a whole year, and I don't think I've made any kind of human connection with anyone. It's and you don't think about it till you think about it.
Yeah, maybe you pull the Darius thing and just see ya and just get a house overseas somewhere.
Well, I think that overseas has got the same. It's about what place. Yeah. It's not, I go to London, I feel the same way. But it's certain places that people are actually connected to. You go to these places in Costa Rica, in Maui, and it's every single day. There's all these families gathered, and they're cooking out together. It's the same families. You see them over there. They're all hanging, friends and families, and they're all got barbecues going outside their house and the garage, and you don't see that stuff around here, so it's just people that are actually gathered and staying connected. And that's what's such a cool thing. I met this guy that would pull up every day on his little moped, this Hawaiian guy that I would go have coffee with recently. I would go to this spot, and we just kind of met each other in passing. And he was like, "Oh, bro, I like your shoes, man." And we started kind of chatting. Next thing you know, it's like every day we met up for coffee, and just kind of. It just doesn't happen around here.
That's the underlying theme of this podcast, I feel like, is coffee.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a Kip thing.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying, too. This town is slightly weird in that everyone's trying to figure out what someone can do for them.
Yes. I've always said the only people that I tend, what matters is how do you treat people in the shadows?
Yeah.
How do you treat people that you gain zero from? Mm-hmm. And you can tell a lot of that with this town.
Yep.
And
it's another weird thing is you don't want to bother people that you know who they are either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's you want to give those people their freedom and their thing. So it's like when someone doesn't know that you're Kip Moore,
Yeah.
it's easier for them to talk to you.
Yeah, and
You know what I mean?
that's a very accurate thing. That's a good way to see it. Yeah.
It's like there's both sides of it, but one of the things that I hate the most about this town, and I hate saying that because I love Nashville and what
It's
it's
You're a
done.
beautiful guy.
It's a
Everyone
beautiful
loves you.
thing, yeah.
But go ahead.
But is when someone is looking past you or looking,
Oh man.
or it's having the exact same conversation 150 times.
Yeah.
Right? Like the exact
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
conversation 150 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've had this conversation 25 times tonight.
Yeah.
This exact conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's tough. Having said that, back in Pittsburgh, it was probably the same way. It was just more about Steelers and beer, you know. But you know, that's cities.
Yeah.
And it's social media is making everything a city almost. That's the hard part. Is it's like everything is the singularity.
Yeah.
Yep, all the cities are
Everything
the
is-
same a lot of times.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I remember me and my friends would all say the same dumb things. That was like our things that we said. You know, now it's the internet's all saying the same dumb things. You know, it's like it's not regional, it's not colloquialisms, it's big, broad things happening at a higher level. And it's just how society's developed. You know, it's a strange thing.
Brain rot.
Yeah.
Anyway, go buy Kip's record, huh?
We did see something from actually like another article about you getting an offer to do a championship show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I
Once
thought it was a
again,
cool
we go back
moment.
to coffee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Once
yeah.
again, we go back to coffee.
Yep.
It's that was when I had made my mind up. You know, I had been on that hamster wheel for the first 5 or 6 years of my career, where it was just touring 365 days, always on the road. Tour in the winter, tour in the spring, tour in the summer, tour in the fall. Number one, I felt like I was wearing my audience out. Number two, I was dying. I felt like I was dying, like literally, like I had heart murmurs. I had all this. It was just you're redlining your body every night, especially with my show. Like it's just you know, we usually go on 3 hours in a headlining thing, 2.5, 3 hours. And I told my manager, I said, hey, look, here's the deal. I really want to get good at this surfing. I'd only done it a few times at that point, and I said, you know, it's where I'm the most happy. And I said, you know, what's going to happen is every January and February from here on out, I'm not playing. And I'm going to go surf in the winter times. That's when the waves are the best. Oh, you know, okay. Well, you know, we'll just, you know, we'll kind of talk about this and we'll get, and I said, no, I don't think you're quite getting me. If you book a show, I won't be there. And I meant it. And I don't think he really felt I meant it. Okay, man, well, you know, go enjoy your break. And I get to Central America, and I'm in this little cafe, and I've probably been there for 4 or 5 days. And I get a call. And this is 2017 or 18. And he says, hey, I know that you said you weren't playing, and I just got to, and I don't blame him at all for bringing this offer to me. It was a big offer. And at that time, I had never seen a money offer like this. And so that part in itself was tempting. And it was like, they're going to offer you this to come play the AFC Championship halftime show. And I literally processed it for about 2 or 3 minutes. 2 or 3 seconds. I said, yeah. I said, there's a problem, man. I'm having coffee right now. And he, you know, you could tell that. What do you mean? I said, well, I'm having coffee, so I can't make it. And you could feel the frustration through the phone. I was like, oh, you know, this is so many million people are watching this. You sure you want to do this? I said, yeah, I'm sure, because I know that the carrot's going to always be in front of you. You got to have a line, and you can't let money be your God and fame and all these things. And I just said, man, I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy where I'm at, and I'm really enjoying this coffee. And he just, you know, said, all right, and hung the phone up. 2 days later, it might have been the very next day, I know it was a quick turnaround. He said, okay, they've upped it 50 for you to come play this thing. I said, yeah. I said, man. And at that time, my mind was made up. I said, the problem is I'm in that same coffee shop having another cup of coffee. And he just goes, okay, all right, I get it, and hung up. And I was never asked again during the wintertime. That was it.
Got to stand your line.
You're a man
man.
of your word. I respect that. A lot of respect,
That
man.
was that.
I love it.
I mean, Nick and I were talking about this when we were driving over here, and I'm like, that'd be hard for me to say no to, honestly, you know? And Nick's like, well, you got to say no sometimes. You know, it's like, if you just say yes all the time, then you're doing 160 shows and you're doing free radio things and you're always doing stuff, and then you're redlining. You know, it's like, you got to draw the line in the sand.
And you also, you know, I've found this sweet spot of success and fame oftentimes are two different things. And then at times they coincide. Luke is the perfect example of it's fame and success. But I've always just wanted to be great at what I did. I just really love music and want to be great at what I do. And so in that sense, I've just wanted to be successful at it. But I've truly never cared about the optics and the fame part of it. You know, if that happens coincidentally with the success, then I got to deal with that. But I've been able to manage this really cool line of having success and being able to live my life very normal. And the people that do come up, it's usually so, unless it's past midnight and they've been drinking, everything's usually so cordial and sweet. And it's like, hey, love what you do. And they keep walking.
Yeah.
Even in the water, man, I get, you know, you'll have people come up and be like, you know, Kip? And I'm like, yeah, how's it going, man? And it's just very like, oh, man, I saw you in Chicago. Man, I can't wait to watch you. Hey, have fun. And then right back off, you know, surfing. And that's the cool thing, is that I've managed to kind of straddle. I've said no to a lot of TV things. I remember getting asked to do the one of the award shows, one of the big award shows to team up with. It was a famous pop guy, and I just said, you know, I have nothing against this person and their music. You know, I think there's a place for all kinds of music. I said, but this makes no sense. This is just we're just trying to jam something in there because we think this is going to be, his fans are going to watch and mine, and then we're just going to end up going out there and doing a pile of crap together. This makes zero sense. I don't like the song. I don't want to do this. You sure you want to turn this down? You know, and you also, then you're riding that line to politics. He said no to us. Okay, well, he's never coming on the, you know, then you ride the line of those things. But, you know, I've been firm on those things, and then at times I think because of that, I've been labeled something that I'm not, difficult or this and that. And it's like, no, like, I know it goes back to, I know who I am to people in the shadows, and that's all I care about. I know how I treat people. I'm not going to play the game just to play the game, and I'm not going to do something that feels against my compass as far as what I'm trying to do with music. I'm not going to, last one, this is one of the craziest ones.
Keep them coming,
I'm
dude.
doing,
Awesome.
this is it. This is when Wild Ones is exploding. It's not commercially exploding, but it is blowing up as a record. And that's what catapulted the whole fan base. And I got a call to do, Kellogg's was going to roll out their big summer promo. It was like this new series. And it got pitched to me as you would be in the studio. And when I'm thinking studio, I'm thinking a music studio. And I'd be in there with Wycliffe, and it was these other big pop stars, and Nick Jonas, and it was me. All these people, and all the names were huge names, and it was me. Kind of didn't quite know why I was picked, because I was kind of an under-the-radar artist that was having success with shows, but not commercially, so to speak. And they were just like, well, the producers and the people of the company just really love this record and want to do Wild Ones, and it sounded cool. And they said Kellogg's will be like the Bob, it'd be like when you see a Corona commercial where you see Corona at the very end kind of thing. And, it'd be sponsored by that, but it would be you guys riffing. I got told riffing in the studio. So I was like, I can get down with that. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I get to LA, and sometimes I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be telling these stories, but I get to LA, and this is like 2015. And I get there, and the studio is this massive warehouse that's rented out. And there ain't no studio in there. It's just a studio of equipment. It's not like music gear. So immediately my radar is up, like, what is this? And there's 25 people on set. And it's a major production. And I'm already like, zzz, like, what did I get myself into? And they're like, okay, we're going to go sit down over here and talk to this guy, and I'm getting interviewed, and it's all about Pop-Tarts. I'm really confused. Everything's related to Pop-Tarts and what kind of Pop-Tarts I ate as a kid. And I was like, man, I ain't no damn Pop-Tarts, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on right now, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, so they're like, and at this time I'm unraveling. I'm just coming unraveled. I'm like, I don't like this. Nothing feels good about this. And sometimes sometimes I have a, you know, maybe I need to say, you know, Kip, relax, man. Just, it's all good. But I just don't, maybe I am difficult at times. I don't know. I have a hard time doing things that feel really inauthentic. And, but the next thing I know, it's like, okay, and it's this giant, like 20-foot LED screen that's probably 20 foot high, 30 feet long. It's just this monstrosity. And it's at the time it's off, but I can see it's this big LED screen. And they said, all right, we want you to stand right here, face the camera, and my back is now to this LED screen that's still off. And they said, we just want you to riff on Wild Ones and then this other Pop Stars. I had to learn like a verse and a chorus, this other Pop Star song. And we just want you to riff back and forth with these two songs in the camera. And I'm like, okay. And the minute they hit play on Wild Ones, I just felt yellow, these bright yellow lights coming behind me. And Wild One starts, I'm real distracted. And I haven't turned around yet. And I'm like, you know, 10 words into the song. And I turn around and it's just hundreds of these 3D Pop-Tart boxes going behind me, you know? And here's this song that kind of sets the tone for the whole show when we do it during the night. We usually do it early in the show. And I'm just like, what did I get myself into? And this contract was big. To this day, I've never been offered a contract like this again as a commercial contract. I mean, it was a game changer of kind of pay. And a really big 6-figure deal. And it's all going through my brain at the time. I'm just like, what am I going to do? I've got the head of Universal Marketing over here, the person that's running the whole show, and management. And I turn around again, and it's just, man, it feels like all these boxes are on top of me. And I said, hey, I need a break. Cut. I didn't even get to the chorus. I said, cut. And I walk outside, and I'm having a meltdown. I'm so hot. I'm so mad. And I'm sitting there. My man, you know, they all come outside. And I got along great with these guys. But boy, it got heated. And we were nose and nose. And I was saying shit that I still regret saying. I was just letting everybody have it. You know. I said, I ain't going back in there. You got to go back in there. I said, I ain't got to do shit. And I'm not going back in that room. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing some Pop-Tart commercial to you know, it was going to be 10 million people that, you know, I said, I don't give a shit. I'm not going back in there. And Brad, who I love to death, he could see, and he understood. He was like, man, as much as this is going to be a problem, I respect it, and I get it. So I walked back in that room, and I just stood at the doorway, and I said, hey, I appreciate all you guys. I know y'all all just in here to work, but this was pitched to me as something that is completely different than what I'm seeing, and I'm not going to be a part of it. Y'all take care. And I bought a plane ticket and flew out, went back home.
It sounds like you got baited and switched a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
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 Well, that's what you get, man.
Not uncommon.
Yeah. I mean, it's on them. You know, it's like,
yeah.
Man, the balls that it takes to do that, though, right?
Oh, man, I was sweating bullets, man.
Because you're running everything through your head
Yeah.
of what's
The repercussions,
Yep.
yeah, everything. Lawsuits, everything was going through my head. I said, I cannot do this right now.
but there's no one that knows you better than you.
Yeah.
And you fucking proved it in that moment.
Yeah. That's a wild story, dude. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was intense. It was really intense.
Crazy. I could feel the intensity with you telling it.
Same.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is
And luckily there was another artist that was having a lot of success commercially that was able to step in and take my spot on the Universal roster that kind of let me off the hook. But yeah, I thought for a minute it was going to be a big ordeal.
Like a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Instead of going 6 figures this way, you might have ended
I was
up going
gonna
6
lose.
figures. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to lose.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's tough. And same thing like you talked about, like the backs of all these people's salaries are
Yeah.
tied to these things, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, but at the end of the day, you're you. You're Kip Moore. Everything that you put out is automatically tied to you. In 100 years, they're not going to look back and say this was a Universal recording artist.
Yeah.
They're going to say this was Kip Moore.
It's a neat thing too. Like, I've had my hands in a lot of things under the table, trying to do humanitarian things, and it's like what my fan base has learned about me. I feel like that I'm not gonna try to shuck and jive them. You know, I think they understand that the way I've tried to go about things. I think they see me. So when I try to get them. When I ask for their help, man, they're incredible, man. They get on board, and we've managed to do some really cool things that they don't even know what they've been a part of. They've just donated to the One Heartbeat Fund, or when I was building skate parks or whatever, and we've been able to keep people's property with the Lahaina fires and the true locals. We're now building a huge safe house in South Africa and stuff, and it's like they know that if for the most part if I'm doing something, it's something I'm actually connected to, and I'm not just trying to
Get a dollar.
or try to project something that's not me, so I think that they believe me, and it's so when I try to get them to help, man, they're in quickly.
That shows the power of what you built,
Yeah.
man.
Wouldn't be there without them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Well, man, congrats on everything.
Yeah.
It's super inspiring just to hear what you've been up to and what you're going to be up to.
Yeah.
That you're gonna be up to too.
Yeah, do Tuesday.
I ain't messing around.
Let's do
man.
it. We will. Yeah. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got a busy day, but we appreciate you coming in here, man.
Good to be here.
We're
Good to be
thankful
here.
for you, man.
Yeah.
Thankful for your music.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. This new record's fucking badass, man.
Thank you
great.
so much.
We can't
Thank you.
wait to hear the next one, too.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Well, I'm Kurt Ozan.
I'm Nicky T.
And we'll see you on the front row. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
You bet.